All right, and welcome to the HODL Review. This is Jeff. You're here on the chain. Today, we are going to talk about the XRP lending. What does that really mean? What's going on? What are my thoughts? There's a little bit more that I want to talk about in that space. I also want to take a look at what the bank ING, is talking about with central bank digital currencies. And what's going on there? I don't know. Let's get started right now.
And now, the HODL Review with Jeff on the chain.
All right, so let's get into this. I want to look first. Let's look at this interesting article that came out. ING. They're talking about central bank digital currencies. This article was on Kitco, Kitco, and I thought it was really interesting. Thought it was really poignant for right now because the base concept is that the COVID-19, everything that's going on with COVID-19, this is based on a report by ING, the banking conglomerate out of the Netherlands. I believe that's where they're based out of. But there's multi phases to or points as to why this is actually going to not slow down the expansion of CBDCs, but actually rapidly increase the pace of the CBDCs. And one of them is really looking at the decrease in the physical use of cash. This is based on their report, people not wanting to use it, contactless payments, that sort of thing. The other purpose is they're seeing an increase, expansion of the role of governments, bigger governments, everything that we're talking about. They want a little bit more control. They don't have as much control over the fiat. There's more that they're trying to do, not just from a regional perspective, but from a global perspective. Obviously, as we know, there's a lot more to it. But interestingly enough, we're seeing what's happening over in China. They're the first rolling out their central bank digital currency. Then you have the European central banks also wanting to focus in on expanding the role of digital currency. So obviously we're going to see a lot more to it. But let's get into Ripple XRP. What's going on there? Now, Arturo Portilla put out a tweet. Everybody in the space is talking about the fact that it looks like Ripple is getting into a lending type of environment, a lending platform. Now, when you look at it, in the job description they said, what will you do? You're going to create and launch Ripple's loan product offering. So obviously they're coming up with some concept that they want to loan. Create a relevant organizational structure to properly execute on a functional loan offering. So what does that all really mean? We know that they need to work within those that need working capital, the cross-border payments. There's a lot more to it. It looks like to me it's focused in on the financial institutions, on the banks. Banks need money too, and banks need to bank somewhere to get that money. Before maybe it was the central banks, but it could be the Fed. There's so many areas where they need to turn to get fed, to get their own loans, to go out and create loans. So there's, especially if you're looking at, orchestrating additional liquidity for transaction, whatever it might be. So is this something that's going to increase and open up a door so that you see more XRP utility? Are you going to see ODL expansion? What exactly is going to happen, and why is it significant? Now, one of the things that I started thinking about is, Chris Larsen. Now, here's Chris Larsen. He's been involved in these unique spaces for a long time. So look at Chris Larsen going back, to around like 96 to 2000. He was the first to roll out online mortgages, and he had the e-loans program. Now, he ended up selling e-loans for a whole bunch of money. But while he was with e-loans, he also was the first to give away the FICO score for free. So he was already like a front runner in rolling out new financial type of technology, because then from e-loans, he went to Prosper. Prosper was the first P2P, peer-to-peer lending platform where you could actually go if you had to borrow money for whatever project, a business, a home improvement project, whatever it was. You didn't go to the bank, you went to Prosper, and other people invested in you, into your project, and you had to pay them back a specific interest rate. That was all structured within amazing system, and really one of the first mechanisms in a decentralized framework. From there, they also added a secondary market, and the secondary market was actually to allow, in the secondary market, it was allowing people to sell their stake. So if you held other people's notes because you lent to them, now you have a secondary. So really, if you look at everything that Chris Larsen has been involved in, it's kind of forward thinking, moving into a specific direction, and now, if you really want to take into consideration, what does Chris Larsen then, the influence of Ripple. So what is Ripple? RippleNet taking on Swift, another major step forward and a first in the space, doing something so drastically different than what anyone has really done before, taking on Swift, which has been a foundation cornerstone for cross-border payments since the early 70s, since like 1974. So now here's Ripple, a fledgling company that was founded back in 2012. All of a sudden, their initiative, their goal, what is it? To take on a company or an organization, an entity, not a company, but and so to take it on that's been around since the 70s for like 40 years. Now Swift, it's a construct of all these different banks that have come together. Swift created a streamlined language, a common language for banks to then transact with one another all over the world, to create that commonality. And here comes Ripple to say, you're not doing it right. You're doing it an old-fashioned way. Not only do we want to have that commonality of conversation with one another, but we also want to create liquidity. We want to do away with Nostro and Vostro accounts. We think we have a much better way. We think we have a transparent way. You guys aren't transparent. Right now, you do a cross-border payment, it can fail. There's all these different aspects of it that are just broken, that slow down business cross-border, as even bank wires and ACH domestically also slow down business and have a lot of obstacles. But cross-border payments can take 3 to 5 days or longer, and then if there's an error somewhere along the way, the whole thing implodes, and then you got to start over again. So there's all these like problematic aspects of trying to send money across borders. So here's RippleNet's like, oh my God, we have this brilliant idea, and it just so happens that we have this digital asset called XRP that we can build into the construct of our solution, and it's going to create on-demand liquidity. And on-demand liquidity is a solution for the banks. Now they're saying that's already amazing enough because it's so different. This is Chris Larsen again being part of the forefront of a new space, a new technology in this space. And this is why now that they're talking about loans, imagine the possibilities. Now Ripple is more of an institutional organization. It's not on the retail side. So we're not talking about direct retail loans. We're talking about institution loans, maybe large corporate loans, especially if they're trying to move money. I don't know, maybe they look at big projects overseas. I don't know if it goes there, but let's say a huge corporation needs to do whatever, and they're building some project and they're developing, they borrow from Ripple, they're borrowing XRP. I think it's more in terms of the movement and simplicity of moving money, but we'll see. Time will tell. But I think having that lending program, a decentralized institutional lending program like P2P or Prosper. There's other things that are in the mortgage space, but now imagine it from an institution, a large corporate perspective. It just game changing, blows things up even further. I don't even know if that's where it's going, but that's how I'm looking at it based on where Chris Larsen's been before, where he's taken things moving forward. I think it's pretty amazing. That's my 2 cents. You don't have to agree with me. You can have a different opinion. And if you do, leave your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are, because we'd love to see your comments. And after you're done commenting, make sure you hit that subscribe button over there, because the subscribe button means that you'll be notified every time we put up a video like this. And if you haven't seen, go to the other channel, check the description below, go to the other channel, go watch our live streams, because there's a live stream every single night of the week, except for Friday and Saturday, but there is one Saturday morning. So you can go check all that out. So until then, I'm out of here. Bam!
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.